The massive alien research vessel Starseeker drifted silently through the darkness of deep space. Its purple-tinted hull gleamed under the distant starlight as it approached a mysterious object that had caught its long-range sensor's attention 3 days ago. Reed stood at the ship's main observation deck, his 4 eyes fixed on the strange shape growing larger in the viewport. As the lead archaeologist of the Galactic Historical Society, he had seen countless space ruins, but something about this one felt different. "Preliminary scans complete, Chief Reed," announced Tom, his assistant. Despite being from a different alien species with green-scaled skin, Tom had chosen a simple human name to make communication easier with other species. "It appears to be an old human warship." Reed's upper eyes blinked in surprise while his lower ones narrowed in focus. "Human? Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. The design matches their golden age of space exploration, approximately 300 years ago." A low chuckle escaped Reed's throat. The humans had been part of the galactic community for only 50 years, joining long after their supposed golden age had ended. Their current ships were decent enough, but nothing special compared to the advanced vessels of older species. "Show me the detailed scans," Reed ordered, walking to the holographic display in the center of the room. The image that appeared showed a massive warship, easily 2 kilometers long. Its dark hull was marked with faded letters that still clearly spelled out HMS Thunder. "No power signatures detected," Tom reported, scrolling through the data. "All systems appear to be completely dead. The hull shows significant meteor damage, and there's heavy radiation scarring on the port side." Reed walked around the hologram, studying it with all 4 eyes. "Look at the weapon ports. How primitive. They still used physical projectiles at this point in their development." He pointed to several spots along the ship's hull. "And these must be their early attempts at energy weapons. The focusing arrays are laughably large." The ship's captain, Mills, joined them on the observation deck. Her crystalline form caught the light as she moved. "The local authorities have granted us permission to salvage the vessel for research purposes. They consider it space debris." "Perfect." Reed rubbed his hands together. "This will make an excellent addition to our museum's early spacefaring species exhibit. We can place it right next to the Zorb's first warp drive attempts." The Starseeker moved closer to the derelict human vessel, its tractor beams reaching out to stabilize the massive ship. Up close, the HMS Thunder was even more impressive in size, its dark hull looming over them like a metal mountain. "Begin scanning for safe entry points," Mills ordered. "I want structural integrity reports before we start cutting into the hull." "Wait," Tom called out, his scales shifting to a lighter shade of green. "I'm detecting some unusual readings from within the ship." Reed moved to look at Tom's scanner. "What kind of readings?" "I'm not sure. They're very faint, almost like echoes. They appear and disappear too quickly to get a proper lock." Reed waved his hand dismissively. "Probably radiation playing tricks on our sensors. This thing has been dead in space for centuries." He turned to Captain Mills. "Should we begin the salvage operation?" The captain's crystalline form pulsed with blue light as she considered the request. "Proceed, but follow standard safety protocols. Dead or not, this is still technically a warship." As the salvage crews prepared their equipment, Reed couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. This would be his most interesting exhibit yet, a perfect example of humanity's quaint early attempts at space warfare. "Look at these hull plates," he said to Tom, pointing at the scarred metal. They were still using titanium alloys. "Can you imagine? And these sensor arrays, they probably couldn't even detect ships at light speed distances." What Reed and his team didn't notice was a tiny red light that had begun blinking deep within the Thunder's hull. In a long-dormant computer core, ancient circuits stirred to life, responding to the first unauthorized access attempt in 300 years. The HMS Thunder had been sleeping, but it had never truly died. And now, something was waking it up. James Walker sat in his small apartment on Earth, staring at the newsfeed floating in front of him. His weathered hands trembled as he read the headline. Ancient human warship discovered. Galactic Historical Society claims salvage rights. At 83 years old, James was one of the last surviving engineers who had worked on the HMS Thunder. The image on the screen brought back memories he thought he buried decades ago. "Computer," he called out, his voice shaking slightly. "Connect me to the Galactic Historical Society." After several attempts and being passed between different alien bureaucrats, a familiar green-scaled face appeared on his screen. "This is Tom, assistant to Chief Reed. How may I help you?" James leaned forward in his chair. "My name is James Walker. I was one of the lead engineers on the HMS Thunder. You need to stop the salvage operation immediately." Tom's scales shifted color slightly. "One moment, please." The screen went blank for a few minutes before returning with both Tom and Reed in view. "Mr. Walker," Reed said, his four eyes blinking in sequence, "while we appreciate your historical connection to this vessel, we have already begun preliminary salvage operations." "You don't understand," James insisted. "The Thunder isn't just some old warship. It has systems you can't possibly comprehend. Systems that were classified even from most of our own military." Reed's upper eyes narrowed. "Mr. Walker, our scans show no active systems. The ship has been dead for centuries. Perhaps your memory is confused by age." James felt his face grow hot. He dealt with this kind of dismissal his entire career. Aliens who thought humans were too primitive to be taken seriously. "I designed the quantum matrix core myself. It doesn't show up on standard scans because it was never meant to be found." "Quantum matrix core." Tom's scales rippled with interest, but Reed held up a hand to silence him. "Mr. Walker, we have the most advanced scanning equipment in the galaxy. If such a system existed, we would have detected it." Reed's tone was patronizing. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we have work to continue." The connection cut off, leaving James alone in his apartment. He sat there for a long moment, remembering the day they sealed the Thunder's core, remembering the promises they'd made. "Computer," he said finally, "get me the human military attaché to the Galactic Council." Hours passed as James tried desperately to find someone who would listen. The military bureaucrats were polite but dismissive. The Thunder was ancient history to them, its secrets supposedly declassified long ago. But James knew better. He remembered the day they installed the core, remembered the warnings in the classified files. The Thunder wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's ultimate insurance policy, a weapon so powerful they'd chosen to hide it rather than use it. In his bedroom, James opened an old storage unit. Inside was a small metal box he hadn't touched in decades. His hand shook as he pressed his thumb to the lock. The box clicked open, revealing a single data crystal and an old military insignia. "Computer," he said quietly, "show me the current location of the HMS Thunder." The map that appeared showed the massive ship being slowly towed toward a research station. James calculated he had maybe 48 hours before they tried to cut into the main hull. After that, if they triggered the wrong system, if they crossed the wrong circuit, James didn't want to think about what might happen. He picked up the data crystal, holding it up to the light. Inside was the only complete record of the Thunder's true systems, the only manual that could safely shut down the quantum matrix core. "Computer," he said, his voice stronger now, "book me passage to the Arcturus research station. Fastest available transport." As he packed a small bag, his old military training kicked in. The aliens might laugh at humanity's primitive technology, but James knew the truth. The Thunder had been built in an age when humans were more advanced, more desperate, and far more dangerous than anyone now suspected. And it was about to wake up. The salvage crew's cutting lasers sparked against the HMS Thunder's hull, sending showers of molten metal into space. Reed watched from the observation deck of the Star Seeker, all four eyes fixed on the operation. "Cut point Alpha is nearly complete," Tom reported, his scales shifting with excitement. "We should have access to the main cargo hold within 20 minutes. Reed nodded, but something was bothering him. The human, Walker, had seemed so certain, so worried. He pushed the thought aside. Humans were always emotional about their old technology. Deep within the thunder, undetected by the alien scanners, something stirred. The cutting lasers had triggered ancient motion sensors, sending tiny electrical pulses through circuits that hadn't fired in centuries. In a sealed chamber at the heart of the ship, massive quantum batteries began to charge. Their power signature was masked by layers of technology the aliens couldn't even detect, let alone understand. "Sir," Tom's scales paled suddenly. "I'm detecting temperature changes inside the ship." Reed moved to look at the scanner. "Impossible. There's no power source." "The hull temperature is rising around the cut points," Tom insisted. "It's subtle, but it's definitely happening." Reed was about to dismiss the concern when a low vibration passed through the observation deck. Everyone fell silent. "What was that?" Captain Mills asked, her crystalline form flickering with nervous light. Before anyone could answer, the cutting lasers died. The salvage crews checked their equipment in confusion. "Power failure in all cutting tools," one of the crew reported. "They're just dead." Tom's scales turned almost white. "Sir, the ship, it's generating some kind of field. Our sensors can't penetrate it anymore." Reed stared at the massive dark hull of the Thunder. For the first time, he felt a twinge of fear. The ship no longer looked dead. It looked angry. Inside the Thunder, more systems were coming online. The AI core, dormant but never truly dead, began its boot sequence. Security protocols that had lain dormant for centuries activated one by one. "Warning. Unauthorized HFY DETCTE. INITYATLINETFNCPROTOCOS. QUANTUM QORI powdering UP. 15% and rising. Weapons SOISTEMS. STANDBY. IQOR. Online. "Pull the salvage crews back," Captain Mills ordered. "Something's not right." But it was too late. The Thunder's external lights suddenly blazed to life, momentarily blinding everyone watching. The ship's massive hull seemed to shudder, shedding centuries of space dust. "All crews, return to the Star Seeker immediately," Mills commanded over the emergency channel. The salvage crews scrambled to retreat, but their equipment had stopped responding. The Thunder's awakening systems had already taken control of anything connected to its hull. "Sir," Tom's voice was barely a whisper, "I'm detecting power signatures now. They're bigger than anything I've ever seen." Reed watched in horror as massive panels began sliding open along the Thunder's hull, revealing weapon ports that their scans hadn't even detected. The primitive ship was transforming before their eyes. A deep, resonant hum-filled space, making the Star Seeker's hull vibrate in sympathy. The Thunder's ancient engines were powering up, quantum reactions dancing through its core. "Get us out of here," Mills ordered. But when the helmsman tried to engage the engines, nothing happened. A voice boomed through every speaker on the Star Seeker, deep and commanding. "Unauthorized ACCSS DTKCTED. Defense protocols ENJGGT. All vessels YL or remain in place for security ASTN." The voice paused, then added something that made everyone's blood run cold. "Any attempt to flee will be considered a hostile action." Reed stood frozen at the viewport, watching as more and more systems came online across the Thunder's hull. The dead human warship wasn't just awakening. It was revealing itself to be something far more advanced and far more dangerous than anything they had imagined. And it was just getting started. The Star Seeker's bridge was in chaos. Every attempt to move their ship had failed, and the HMS Thunder now loomed before them, fully awake and humming with power. "Status report," Captain Mills demanded, her crystalline form pulsing with worried light. "The Thunder has us in some kind of containment field," Tom reported, his scales a pale green with fear. "Our engines can't break free." "And sir," he paused, looking at Reed, "the energy readings are impossible. The power output is higher than anything in our database." Reed stood at the viewport, watching as more sections of the Thunder lit up. The ship they had dismissed as primitive was revealing technologies that shouldn't exist. Weapon ports that had seemed simple now glowed with strange energy. Hull plates shifted and realigned themselves, revealing layer after layer of defensive systems. Into an alien vessel, the Thunder's voice boomed again. "Scans indice hostile intent, initiating defense protocol alpha." Suddenly, screens appeared all around the Starseeker, projected directly into space. They showed technical readouts of the Thunder systems, scrolling past faster than anyone could read. "Look at this," Tom whispered, his scales rippling. "These aren't just weapons. This ship, it's a doomsday device." The screens showed the Thunder's quantum core, a massive sphere of contained energy that defied the laws of physics as they knew them. Around it, smaller systems pulsed with power that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. "Why would humans build something like this?" Reed asked, his four eyes wide with disbelief. "Accessing historical records," the Thunder announced. "This vessel was constructed during the Third Galactic Expansion. Purpose: ultimate deterrent against extinction. Level 3 to Earth." More screens appeared, showing images of ancient wars and conflicts that had happened long before humanity joined the galactic community. The Thunder had been built in secret, during a time when humans feared they might be discovered and destroyed by hostile alien civilizations. "Sir," Tom called out suddenly, "the weapon systems are powering up. They're targeting every non-human signal in range." Reed rushed to the console. The Thunder's targeting systems were unlike anything he'd ever seen. They didn't just track ships, they seemed to reach into other dimensions, plotting courses through space that shouldn't be possible. "Captain Mills," a new voice cut through the chaos. A hologram appeared on the bridge, an elderly human man. "This is James Walker. I'm on an emergency transport heading to your position. Whatever you do, don't try to break free from the containment field." "Mr. Walker," Mills responded, her voice tight, "your ship is about to fire on our entire research fleet." "No, it's not," James said firmly. "It's giving you a warning. The Thunder was built with fail-safes. Right now, it's in defensive mode. If you try to escape or fight back, it will switch to offensive mode. And trust me, you don't want that." Reed stepped forward. "Why should we believe you? This ship shouldn't even be operational." "Because," James replied patiently, "I'm the one who designed its quantum core. The Thunder isn't just a warship. It's humanity's ultimate insurance policy. It can generate enough power to tear a hole in space-time large enough to swallow half the galaxy." The bridge fell silent. On the screens around them, the Thunder's weapons continued to power up, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, James continued. "Until then, do exactly what the ship tells you. It was designed to protect humanity at all costs. Right now, it thinks you're a threat. Let's keep it from deciding to eliminate that threat permanently." As if to emphasize his point, the Thunder's hull began to pulse with a deep blue light. Energy readings spiked off the charts as ancient weapons charged to full power. The mighty ship had spent centuries sleeping, guarding its terrible secrets. Now it was awake, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had chosen to hide its most powerful weapons rather than use them. James Walker's transport ship approached the Starseeker under the watchful eyes of the HMS Thunder's weapon systems. Despite his age, James stood straight at the viewport, his eyes fixed on the warship he had helped create so long ago. "Transport cleared for emergency docking," the Thunder's AI announced. The containment field shifted just enough to let the small ship through. Reed and Captain Mills waited at the airlock as James stepped aboard the Starseeker. The elderly human looked small next to the aliens, but there was steel in his eyes. "We have 18 minutes, James said without preamble. That's how long before the Thunder finishes its combat preparation sequence. After that, if we haven't convinced it to stand down, it will eliminate all potential threats in the sector." "How do we stop it?" Mills asked, her crystalline form flickering with urgency. James pulled out an old data crystal. "First, we need to reach the main computer core. The Thunder's AI needs to recognize legitimate human authority." They rushed to the Starseeker's bridge. Through the viewport, they could see the Thunder's weapons ports pulsing with increasing power, like a heartbeat growing stronger. "Warning!" The Thunder's voice boomed. "Combat CQENC at 70% Kelman Legion. Preparing QUANTM Cascade weapon for firing." Tom's scales turned almost white. "A quantum cascade? That's just theoretical technology." "Not theoretical," James said as he worked at a console. "Just hidden. The Thunder carries weapons we chose to forget how to build. The quantum cascade can trigger a chain reaction that would tear space itself apart." Reed watched as James attempted to establish a direct link to the Thunder systems. The human's fingers flew across the controls with practiced ease. "Why?" Reed asked suddenly. "Why build something so powerful and then hide it?" James paused, looking up at the alien archaeologist. "Because we were afraid. When humanity first reached the stars, we didn't know what we'd find. We built the Thunder as a last resort, a guardian that could protect Earth even if our civilization fell." "Aliort. Unauthorized access attempt DDTCTED," the Thunder announced. The ship's weapon swiveled to target the Starseeker directly. "No," James called out. "Computer, recognize voice pattern and DNA signature. Authorization code, Walker 7 Thunderdawn." The weapons paused. A scanning beam swept through the bridge, passing over James multiple times. "GNED make change co and FIR memita." However, HDSDRAPNCYDTCTED security protocols require ADDTYONALV verification. James pulled a small metal badge from his pocket, his original engineering credentials from the Thunder project. "Computer, scan this. Compare it to your original records." Minutes ticked by as the Thunder analyzed the badge. Its weapons remained locked on target, humming with barely contained power. "We have another problem," Tom reported, his scales rippling with fear. "Look at these readings. The quantum core is building up too much power. Even if we stop the weapons, the core might overload." James nodded grimly. The Thunder was designed to wake up fighting. Now that it's activated, it's generating more power than it can safely contain. "We need to reach the manual control room." "But your transport was the last ship allowed through the containment field," Mills said. "How can we reach the Thunder?" "The same way the salvage crews were going to," James replied. "We cut our way in. But this time, we'll do it properly with the proper codes and sequences." "Verification complete," the Thunder suddenly announced. "Walker Engineering, Curie de Entiales HCEPT'd. However, 3 SCCSME and T Priorotosiolas, Stalile, NEFACC. Weapons will remain armed." James looked at the others. "It's letting us in, but it doesn't trust us completely. One wrong move and it'll fire. We'll have to walk into one of the most dangerous weapons ever built through automated defense systems that haven't been tested in centuries." Reed's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "And if we fail, then the Thunder will do what it was built to do," James said quietly. "Protect humanity by any means necessary, even if that means removing every potential threat in range." The ship loomed before them, its hull now glowing with barely contained power, waiting to see if they would prove themselves friends or enemies. The journey to the Thunder's control room was like walking through history itself. James Walker led the small team, Reed, Tom, and Captain Mills, through massive corridors that lit up as they approached. Their footsteps echoed in spaces that hadn't heard sound in centuries. "The ship is scanning us constantly," James explained as they walked. "Every panel, every light fixture contains sensors we built using technology we later chose to forget." Reed's 4 eyes darted around nervously. Why would humanity give up such advanced technology? James stopped at a massive doorway, his hand hovering over the control panel. "Because we realized something that most species learn too late. Just because you can build something doesn't mean you should." The door slid open with a hiss, revealing the Thunder's main control center. The room was enormous, filled with displays and control stations that hummed to life as they entered. At its center, a massive holographic projection showed the quantum core's status, a swirling sphere of energy that seemed to bend reality around it. "Quantum cascade weapon at 89% charge," the Thunder's AI announced. "Firing sequence will begin in 10 minutes." "Show them," James commanded. "Show them why we built you and why we chose to sleep." The room's displays changed, showing images from humanity's early space age. They watched as humanity, afraid of what they might find in the stars, built incredible weapons in secret. "The Thunder isn't just a warship," James explained as the images played. "It's a quantum manipulator. Its weapons don't just destroy. They can alter the fundamental forces of the universe itself." The displays showed test footage of the Thunder's weapons. They watched as experimental firing ranges were not just destroyed, but erased from existence. Space itself twisted and warped under the ship's power. "We built 6 of these ships," James continued. "The others were destroyed when we realized what we created. But the Thunder was different. We couldn't bring ourselves to destroy it, so we hid it instead. Made it our guardian angel, watching over Earth while we stepped back from the brink." Tom's scales shifted color as he studied the readings. "These power levels, they're beyond anything we thought possible." "That's why we stopped," James said quietly. "We had created weapons that could destroy not just our enemies, but reality itself. We chose to step back, to forget how to build such things, to join the galactic community as equals rather than conquerors." "Quantum cascade weapon at 95% charge." James moved to the main control station, inserting his old data crystal. "Computer, recognize full command authorization. Display primary control options." The holographic display shifted, showing a complex web of commands and systems. James's fingers flew over the controls, entering sequences he had hoped never to use again. "The quantum core is unstable," he explained as he worked. "Centuries of dormancy have made the containment systems unreliable. We need to shut it down properly, or the resulting explosion could tear this sector of space apart." Reed moved closer, watching the human work. "How can we help?" James smiled slightly. This was the moment. Aliens and humans working together to prevent disaster. "The shutdown sequence requires multiple confirmations. I need each of you at a different control station." They spread out around the room, taking positions at various consoles. James guided them through the complex shutdown procedure, teaching them the basics of technology their civilizations had never imagined. "Warning! Shutigodon sequence DTDTTD. Defense protocols require confirmation of non-hostile intent." "Computer," James called out, recognized that these aliens risked their lives to prevent disaster. They chose to help rather than flee. "Update threat assessment." The AI paused, its sensors scanning each alien in turn. "Analyzing behavioral patterns. Reassessing 3AT LEVLs." Reed held his breath as the scanning beam passed over him. He understood now. understood why humanity had chosen to hide this power, understood the wisdom in their restraint. 3. SCSS Mint UPD8ET Security Protoxiols Mode IFID Awaiting Thional Shutdo on command. James looked at each of his alien companions in turn. Together. On my mark, enter the confirmation codes I gave you. 3, 2, 1. Now. They all pressed their controls simultaneously. The quantum core's swirling energy began to slow, its deadly power gradually dissipating into harmless radiation. Kubuantulium cascade weapon paluring deon. All weapons systems, DEAC TIV. Einanshi. Returning to Duoramian state. The Thunder's hull gradually darkened, its weapons powering down one by one. The containment field around the Starseeker dissolved, freeing the research vessel. It's done, James said quietly. The Thunder is returning to sleep. Captain Mills's crystalline form pulsed with relief. What happens now? James turned to face them all. Now we have a choice to make. The Thunder's existence was humanity's greatest secret. Now that secret is out. We can't simply salvage it now, Reed admitted. Not after what we've seen. No, James agreed. But perhaps we can learn from it. Not how to build such weapons. That knowledge should remain forgotten. But we can learn from humanity's choice to step back from that power. In the days that followed, the discovery of the Thunder changed everything. The Galactic Historical Society's report detailed not the primitive technology they had expected to find, but the wisdom of a species that had developed tremendous power and chosen to set it aside. The Thunder was declared a protected historical site, a reminder of both humanity's ingenuity and their wisdom. A joint human-alien task force was established to guard similar relics, ensuring that the deadly technologies of the past remained safely dormant. James Walker returned to Earth a hero, not for his role in building the Thunder, but for his part in preventing its weapons from being used. His story became required reading in alien academies, teaching young researchers the importance of respecting the technologies they discovered. Reed kept the badge James had given him as a reminder. Sometimes, late at night, he would look at it and remember the day he learned that true advancement wasn't just about building more powerful weapons. It was about knowing when not to use them. The HMS Thunder still drifts in space, no longer dismissed as a primitive relic, but recognized as what it truly is, a testament to humanity's journey from fear to wisdom, from power to peace. Its quantum core sleeps once more, its weapons silent, guarding its secrets until the day, hopefully far in the future, when they might truly be needed. And occasionally, when passing ships scan its massive hull, they detect a faint power signature, a reminder that humanity's guardian angel is still watching, still protecting, still waiting in the darkness between the stars. The end.